Why, hello there. Bonjour, je m'appelle Valentine Neville. And today I will be recounting the events in a day in the life of one Joshua Miguel Dari. He starts off by physically waking up in his bed and not getting up for another 10 minutes. By the time his brain has registered that he has to, in fact, get out of bed for his day to start, he refreshes himself in his residential restroom and goes downstairs for a little walk. Now this walk depends varying on what time his first meeting of the day begins. If his meeting is usually around 5:30 to 7 in the morning, then he might end up not walking at all, given obvious circumstances. However, if his meeting is 30 minutes later, or even an hour later, or even if it doesn't happen at all, then he might proceed to start walking around outside for at least an hour or two until he reaches a minimum of 1,000 steps. To explain why that is his goal is to take at least 2 hours, 37 minutes, and 19.5 seconds. So we will skip over that.
Val, what did I tell you about doing my job for me?
That I can do it as long as you don't know about it?
Okay, look, I appreciate what you're doing, but you look nothing like me. And I think my gauge will notice that someone who is clearly not me is doing my job for me.
I'm not pretending to be you. I'm narrating it from the third person.
No, that's not what I meant. Okay, now you lead me to an argument, so please get out. Reason, acceptance, propriety. These are things that I simply do not care about. And today we're going to talk about why. For I, an asocial philosopher, refuse to be condemned for my own identity. Now get out of my room, Aristotle. This is my video. The confines of what society deems to be proper feels exactly like this. So what exactly does it mean to be asocial? Well, Merriam-Webster dictionary defines it as, great, now I'm resorting to citing Merriam-Webster. How pseudo-coach can I possibly get? To simplify it for you civilized individuals, it basically means that I avoid or reject social interaction on the basis of simply not liking it or not feeling like it. Now, this is often confused for terms like antisocial or introvert, and while I wouldn't correct someone if they use them on a day-to-day basis, it is kind of a stretch. Antisociality implies that I have contempt for the general social order, which is not inaccurate, but is also a bit of a stretch. Introversion, meanwhile, describes gaining energy and comfort from being alone, which again isn't inaccurate to who I am, just irrelevant to this conversation. So why did I choose asocial as the describing word for my title? Well, to put it simply, it's a feeling predominant during my time in the pandemic and as an active member of societally mandated academia. I actually believed once that friends were a distraction in school, and I still do believe that to some extent nowadays, but back then it got so bad, I started to get branded as aloof, as ice cold, you know? And flattering that may be to 12-year-old me. Objectively, that's a bad look, sweetie. Now, if you add to that the rejection of the norm and someone with a juvenile understanding of the world, what you eventually get is someone with a hideous outlook on life. Someone who implements their understanding in the language of academia. Oh, the horror. Fine, you wanna talk about this part. Whatever. Much appreciated. Teenage philosophers have been a thing of the past millennia or two.
Plato was like 15 when he became Socrates' esquire. However, not many realize that what they're actually invoking, which is essentially the job of philosophers in the daily, instead misconstruing them for daydreams or, how do I put this, visions that they feel when they get high from smoking a bunch of PCP. Oh, Ghost. A few seconds ago, I mentioned that I was someone who implemented my understanding of the world, my hideous, societally unacceptable outlook on life, through the language of academia. And while I was referring to my weird tendencies of implementing my personal tangents or anecdotes into societally mandated essays, I was also referring to the occasional happenstance where I do talk to someone and resemble being their character education professor from the 3rd grade of God. Oh, your friend has been caught through typical high school pad trauma? Well, I propose the dilemma of the lost pencil. When we ask the question, what do you do when your actions have been misconstrued against you with bias against your inherent nature? And this is where you turn to page 43 of Nature's Beyond Good and Evil. Are you done? Well, I was about to explain the small intricacies of... Yeah, okay, you're done. I'm passing it back to Trash Man over there. Thanks, I guess. So far, I've been rambling incoherently about the definitions of individual words like asocial and philosophe, which, by the way, is actually just French for philosopher, and I chose it because it sounds nice. I described those, but I didn't really put them into perspective of what it actually means to me on a day-to-day basis. And that's because it doesn't have much meaning. I mean, my daily life is as boring as any other student my age, with the exception of my life beyond it. You know, my behavior, my mannerisms, my actions, all that stuff. I've noticed that a trend most of my classmates have is they prefer being outside and they prefer being with other people. They prefer delving into conversations with each other about what they do and flourish in their own company. And I guess this video is just my big way of explaining that I'm not like that. I'm not like other girls. I'm a student of humanities and social sciences, but I'm an introverted asocial whose nature is inherently against those practices. I only chose this strand because it aligns more with my personal interest, even though my behavior is pretty much more aligned with other strands. I live in Dubai, so the people in the city are going gaga over Expo 2020, and even my friends, but I struggle for care about any of it, and mainly because of the crowds, the people, and overall the concept of attractions of all over the world in a single place is a concept I've explored since I was a kid, okay? I went to museums, I went to the planetarium. This isn't anything new. So, this is me. This is me in my purest form. Messy reasoning, dissuaded into acceptance, and the antithesis of propriety. My name is Joshua McGill-Daria, and this has been a day in the life of an asocial philosopher. Didn't understand anything? Yep, well, me neither. Thanks for watching.